Kids, stay in school. This is A Brighter Summer Day.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Greg.
How are you?
That's how I am.
Oh, no. That's no good.
No, I'm fine. This week was a short week, so it went by super quick.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like nothing.
Yeah, it's been nice.
I don't know.
Well, we're back. This is Seen and Heard. This is where Jackie and I, two entertainment assistants, go through the Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time list. This week, we're at number 84. It's another one of those tied for 84 movies. Mm-hmm. This is 1991, Edward Yang's A Brighter Summer Day. But before we get into the movie, Jackie, what have you been watching this last week?
Do you want to go first? Because I feel like you have a million.
Sure. Do I have a million?
I didn't get to watch anything 4th of July weekend. Like, barely anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really watch. Every year around the 4th, I try to watch Jaws. It didn't happen this year. I did see a couple movies. I saw a movie called The Incubus, or just Incubus. Confused. Sometimes there's a the before, sometimes there's not. 1982 film starring John Cassavetes, not directed by John Cassavetes, directed by a hack named John Howe. Actually, no, I liked one of his films. He made a movie called, he did The Legend of Hell House. I think that movie's okay. So The Incubus has John Cassavetes, 1982, and it's essentially women in this small New England town are being raped by a demonic presence. And John Cassavetes plays like the doctor, like the town doctor. He's the lead in the movie.
No way. I want to see him in a period piece.
It's a terrible... Well, no, it's not period.
Oh,
no.
Why did I imagine like colonial times?
No. Oh, I would love that too. Like him with one of those like ponytails. Like not the ponytail, but what's the thing with the braid?
I know exactly what you're talking. Yeah. It's a ponytail.
Yeah, it's like a very modest ponytail.
They're tiny. They're like only at the end, right?
Yeah. Whatever that thing is called. No, it's a contemporary.
Damn
movie.
it.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. Yeah, it was bad. I really wanted to see him because he's in Brian De Palma's movie The Fury, where he plays the villain, and it's this kind of like telekinetic sort of thriller horror movie, and I love him in that. That's a great. I love seeing him in like genre stuff, like outside of his movies, just like having a good time. But this was really bad. I saw Lost Highway, the David Lynch movie. So this is playing right now, as at the time of recording. It's playing in a 4K restoration by Janus Films. They just restored it. It's probably going to be coming to Criterion later. So I got a chance to see it in a theater, and I hadn't seen it in probably a decade. And actually, my history with this movie is not great. I've never liked it, really. This was always kind of like the David Lynch movie that people are like, which one don't you like? I'm like, Lost Highway. I always felt like it was like a warm-up for Mulholland Drive. So that's exactly why I went to go see it earlier this week, because I was all excited. Like, okay, cool. It's been 10 years. It's been restored. And you know what? And I'm not just saying this, but, I don't think it's cool to like every film from one of your favorite directors. Because like, what does that say about you? That you're just going to blindly like everything. And he is one of my favorite filmmakers. And I like the fact that I didn't like this movie before. But now the problem is...
Oh, snap.
Yeah, the problem is I actually really loved it this viewing. The print looked amazing. The sound was really loud. It has a great soundtrack. One of David Lynch's greatest soundtracks. And I really, for the first time, like connected with it and was like, oh, I see. And just, it felt great. And unfortunately, I do like it now. So the only one at this point that I don't like is The Straight Story, which is like his straightforward, like Disney movie about a guy and his lawnmower, which... because that one's trying to do like character stuff, which he's not great at, it like didn't really work for me. I only saw that once, but so yeah, saw Lost Highway, and then with some friends did a double feature of American Graffiti and Dazed and Confused at the New Beverly, which was super fun.
Sounds fun.
So yeah, it was a good week of movie going for me.
That's great.
How about you?
Well, I did see Summertime, the David Lean movie. It was playing at the Los Feliz Vintage, and it is so good. I loved it.
Katharine Hepburn, right?
Katharine Hepburn.
I have not seen it, yeah.
In Venice. It's kind of like what are those like? They used to have like what they called like ladies' pictures.
Yes.
Like Now Voyager.
Now Voyager, yeah.
That's the big one.
With Betty Davis, yeah.
Yes, which I love. But this movie is like something else. It is beautiful. Like the second it started, I'm like, I'm in a different country right now. Like this print was just like, just jaw-droppingly, I don't know, wonderful, and just such a good time.
It's coming out on from Criterion soon on disc.
Yeah, but it's worth it to see in the theater. It is such a warm, cozy, good feeling, but also like it's a really interesting movie, and it raises a lot of interesting questions. It does okay, that's like a bit of an exaggeration. But it is really nice to see a story about a woman who, and of course she's like a spinster, who like goes to Italy and just has a fantastic time and falls in love. Not much else happens. All the conflict just happens in her mind. It's
cool.
It's lovely. I had a great time. Highly recommend. I did go see Space Odyssey, actually, now that I think about it, on Friday before 4th of July. At the Arrow. It was in 70 millimeter, and I took my siblings because they had never seen it, and we had a great time. The whole theater was packed. They made everyone there. Like the guy that got up said, like, whose first time is this? Like seeing Space Odyssey. Bunch of people raised their hands, and he's like, oh my God, like you're in for such a treat. And it's true. Like I'm so jealous. I wish the first time I saw it was that night because it was just like electric. I know, it was so loud. Like when the monolith makes that beeping noise, I thought it was like a fire alarm. I was like, oh my God, like we had to cover our ears. It was crazy, but it was beautiful and really, really fun. And then I did see Daisies. Have you ever seen that movie?
You know what? I've seen part of it.
It's by
I've not seen the whole thing.
A Czech filmmaker called Vera Chytilova. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It was the first movie in Czechoslovakia to be directed by a woman. And it's just such a weird, fun movie. Like every weird impulse you've ever had happens in that movie.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah, I know it's a very beloved.
Yeah, it's pretty
gem.
silly and surreal, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I need to sit down and properly watch that.
It's super short. It was only like an hour and 15 minutes.
Right.
But yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch with someone else. I wish I saw it with someone else because that would have been cool.
It's just you alone on your
just
laptop.
Just me alone on my laptop in the basement. Exactly, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, why are you watching on the laptop?
Something's wrong with my TV. Like,
what's wrong with it?
I don't know. It's a Samsung Smart TV, and I'm honestly convinced I have a lemon. It's always given me problems.
How old is it?
I got it during the pandemic, like in 2020.
Oh.
Yeah. And also, to be fair, the Wi-Fi at my house is god awful, like so bad that it should be illegal. I think the problem is like everything's working fine. The second I press play on any movie, it doesn't matter what app I'm in, HBO Max, Criterion Channel, doesn't matter. Sorry, we can't load. Like, and it drove me wild. All weekend I had to watch movies on my laptop. I had to watch today's movie on my laptop.
Oh no.
I know.
Oh, no. Wow.
So that's where I'm at right now.
Samsung is like a pretty quality brand, though. That's weird. It must just be a Wi-Fi
it's my
thing.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Because everything else works fine.
Well, should we get into this week's film?
Sure.
All right. Well, this is number 84 on the list. 1991. This is Edward Yang's A Brighter Summer Day.
No broken hearts for us, 'cause we love each other. And we are faith and trust, there could be no other. Why? 'Cause I love you. Why? 'Cause you love me. I think you're always sweet.
A Brighter Summer Day is a Taiwanese film released in 1991. It was directed by Edward Yang. The film was written by Ming Tang Lei, Hung Hung, Alex Yang, and Edward Yang. Cinematography by Wei Kung Chang and Longyu Zhang. Set in 1960, the film tells the story of Sir, a junior high adolescent coming of age in Taiwan. One of 5 children, Sir lives with his family, one of the many households who fled mainland China for Taiwan as the communist government seized control. After performing poorly in school, Sir is transferred to night school, where he falls in with a gang of rebellious youth, the Little Park Gang. They stir up trouble with their rival gang, the 217 boys. Meanwhile, Sir meets and befriends Ming, the girlfriend of the leader of the Little Park Boys, Honey. Honey is murdered, which leads to a massacre of the 217 boys, and Ming and Sir become closer. Eventually, Ming tells Sir she doesn't want to be exclusive. He lashes out on a doctor she is having an affair with, and he gets expelled from school. All the while, his father is being interrogated by the secret police for his associations with communist China. Finally, Sir learns that Ming is seeing one of his close friends, and though he originally planned to kill the friend, he stabs Ming to death in the street as she berates him for his possessive tendencies. The film stars the real-life father-son duo of Chang Chen as Sir, Kwao Chu Chang as his father, and also the older brother in the movie is the actor who plays Sir's older brother. So it's like two sons and one father. Elaine Jin, who is also the mom in Yi Yi, plays his mother. And Lisa Yang plays Ming. The original Chinese title translates to The Youth Killing Incident on Gulong Street. It's based on a real incident that happened in Taiwan while Yang was 13. And the film was submitted as Taiwan's entry for the Oscars, but it wasn't accepted. It won the Asia Pacific Film Festival, the highest award there. Film pirating was so bad in Taiwan at the time of its release that the film was aired on cable television a day after its release.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? It reminds me of Aguirre a little bit. A similar thing happened in Aguirre.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I learned that Edward Yang saw Aguirre Wrath of God and like it reignited his want to make movies because he was originally an engineer.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
In 2009, Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Foundation restored the film from its original sound and picture negatives, which made it available for its first U.S. theatrical run in 2011. It was unavailable before then. No one had seen it here.
Yeah, so just a little preview. There will be no Pauline's Kael segment because she didn't see the film. So we will not be doing Pauline Kael later.
Maybe we should do Roger Ebert.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, that's all I have for Specs. It was released by the Criterion Collection a few years after that. And have you seen the Criterion cover?
Yeah.
It's
the
so beautiful. It's
I actually have
so
the Criterion.
beautiful. You have it?
Because when they released this, this is like pre-Criterion Channel and stuff. Like if you wanted to see it, you had to buy it. And I knew about its reputation and I was like, oh, cool. So
now you're stuck with a movie that you don't plan to watch.
Maybe when I'm 50.
For a very long time.
Well, we can't say that yet.
That's all I have for Specs.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add.
Why?
I don't know. That's all I have.
As we mentioned in the Yi episode, Edward Yang unfortunately passed away very young. I think in 2009.
Yeah, he died at age 59.
Really unfortunate colon cancer.
Yeah, his last feature was Yi. It looks like he made one short in 2007, but yeah, it was Yi.
Well, what are your initial thoughts? Why are you laughing? Let's set the scene because you and I have talked about, and I think we mentioned it last episode.
We mentioned it in Yi? Oh, no.
Our last week's
Apocalypse
episode,
Now,
you
yeah.
mentioned your feelings about this movie.
Yes.
Reiterate them for us.
Okay, so I saw this when Criterion first put it out. I want to say it was like 2016. 2016 sounds right. 2016, 2017. And I knew of its stature and how it was kind of like unavailable for a long time in like a good format. Like if you wanted to watch this movie, it was going to look terrible. So they did the big restoration. Criterion finally put out the disc. And I just bought it because I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this. Like the way that people talk about it as if it's like one of the great masterpieces of world cinema. So I first watched it. I remember the first time I saw this, I think Molly and I sat down with it. And I think we got like 20 minutes in and it just wasn't like the vibe. We knew it was 4 hours long, or maybe I forgot to tell her it was 4 hours. And I think maybe 20 minutes, she's like, I let it slip. I'm like, yeah, this is 4 hours long. And she's like, oh, can we just like not watch this right now? I was like, yeah, okay. So I watched like the first 20 minutes. And then like a year later, I watched the rest of the movie. And yeah, I didn't like it for many reasons. I think it's way, 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 way too long. So a couple years have passed. It's been about 4 to 5 years, maybe, since I'd seen this. Maybe not even. Maybe it was 3 years. Honestly, I don't remember. Time right now is like nothing. It means nothing. So I was kind of dreading this because the one time I had seen it, I did not like it, and it just happens to be a 4-hour movie. So I was dreading this, and I put this off to the absolute last minute to watch it for the podcast. Because, of course, we always rewatch everything here. Even if we've seen the movie a million times and it's a personal print, we watch it.
Talk about it if you didn't just watch it fresh.
We always watch it the week of the episode so that we are fresh and we can talk about it and all that stuff. So I was like really dreading this, and I watched it all. I thought about breaking it up over 2 days, but ultimately I felt weird doing that because, again, it's a theatrical film. It's meant to be seen in one sitting.
And it's meant to be seen without an intermission, by the way.
Well, I'll get to that in a second. So, yeah, this movie's properly 4 hours long. Like, we're not exaggerating. It's not 3.5 hours. Like, it's literally 4 hours. So, watch it yesterday. I did break in the middle for dinner, and I had film club, too. And I came back to it, so that was a little bit of a break. But I'll tell you this, okay? I really came back into this wanting to love it because I love Yi Yi. Like, love it. And that's one of my favorite movies we've done so far that's been on the Sight and Sound list. Like,
same.
Love Yi. Like, so I wanted to like this. And I remember the first time I saw Yi, I was also like I liked it, but I was like a little more lukewarm. And then I saw it a second time and I was like, oh my God, like this is a masterpiece. So I was hoping the same thing was going to happen with A Brighter Summer Day. Unfortunately, it didn't. And unfortunately, this movie is the bane of my existence. And unfortunately, this movie broke me. So,
it did break you. He was texting me. He's like, oh my God, it's still going on.
Yes. So
you texted me saying, I'm on my phone. I never do this.
Yeah. So confession.
My God.
I'm one of those people, I think you are too. Like, I hate people being on their phones during movies. I never do it. I silence my phone and I put it away from me so that I'm not on my phone during movies. I think that's blasphemy. In the last hour of this movie, I couldn't do it anymore, and I took out my phone and I was scrolling on my phone. And guess what? I never do that. But I just I was gonna lose my sanity if I didn't. Yeah, let me just preface this by saying this is a beautiful film. The filmmaking is impeccable. Like, individual scenes are amazing.
Oh my God, so good. And I told you this yesterday as I was going back and doing my notes and watching individual scenes. I was like, wow, I love this.
Yes, but and the filmmaking really is like, it's on another level. Like it's like A+ tier filmmaking, just like incredible. His mise-en-scène and like
some of the best framing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes, absolutely. But this is 4 fucking hours long, and that's too fucking long for this movie. And the story is not big enough to support 4 fucking hours. 4 hours broke me. 4 hours broke me. Do you know what's 4 hours? Lawrence of Arabia is 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's this gigantic, huge story. This was 4 fucking hours. And again, it's just, there's not enough there to support the runtime. And what happened to me the first time I saw this and what happened to me the second time I saw it was I got fucking bored. This movie broke me because there's too much stupid shit in here. There's too much shit of like following just like, okay, I know this is not based on a book, but I could see it being based on a book.
That's what everyone says. This is a novelistic movie. Novelistic movie.
I love novelistic movies. I love long movies. I love big sprawling character. This is we talked about intimate epic in our Yi episode. This is an intimate epic. I love all that stuff about it. I love that it has tangents and stuff. But at 4 fucking hours, it's too much. It's too much. It broke me. And I think the difference is like, it feels like they adapted a book, which they didn't, and they left in every single detail. Where it's like, no, when you adapt, you're supposed to streamline things a bit.
Here's an interesting thing I just thought of, and I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but if you were watching it with the Chinese title, which is literally, it says what happens.
Right.
Would that change it? It's like building anticipation. You would know what happens in the end. I didn't know what was going to happen in the end.
I didn't. So the first time I saw it, I didn't know exactly what happened, but I knew it was based on like a real life crime.
Like, would that change anything? Like, okay, from the bat, you know that this murder is going to happen, and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. No,
because the second time I saw it, I knew what happened.
Okay.
And this movie just beats you into submission. Let me
you into submission.
Let me say this. And again, I can't stress enough. I'm so conflicted about this movie because the filmmaking is great. And I can't deny that. And I really worship at the feet of Edward Yang.
Yeah.
But you can't have a movie this bloated and get away with it. Like, there are consequences. Let me tell you,
there are
honestly,
no consequences.
There are from
this
me.
Is a very beloved movie.
I know. Here's the thing, okay? And I cannot accept this. This is unacceptable to me. And honestly infuriates me. This is a 4-hour film. There's no intermission.
And he didn't want an intermission. Like, he specifically said in the theater, like,
you know
no
what?
intermission.
Fuck him.
That sucks, though. Like, what if you have to pee?
Okay. What well-hydrated adult can go 4 hours without peeing?
That's true. And also, it's just good for people's attention. Like,
Yes.
I think it makes the whole experience so much better.
Yeah.
Intermissions. Actually, Space Odyssey this past weekend, that was the first movie I've been to in a theater with an intermission.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I loved it. It was so nice. I went and got popcorn. I was like talking to my siblings. I'm like, what do you guys think? Like, what do you think is going to happen? And like, I don't know. It was like great.
Intermissions are so cool.
Yeah.
It just happened when we went to Godfather 2. They had one. It was great.
Yeah. Anyway, I cut you off.
The fact that this movie doesn't have an intermission is a huge problem.
Yeah.
This movie's 4 hours long with intentionally no intermission, which honestly really pisses me off because it's like Edward Yang trying to punish you. Also, what makes your film so much better than all these other long films with intermissions?
But you just said you grovel at his feet.
Yeah, because his filmmaking is amazing, but I hate this choice on his part.
Yeah.
And I think him not including an intermission in this movie is part of...
Why you have such a problem with it?
It's part of the bigger picture, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like... It's that kind of mindset. Like, no, you're going to sit there, you're going to watch 4 hours, you're going to watch however long I want you to watch, and you ignore the bathroom. And here's the thing. You're going to have to go to the bathroom in 4 hours, right?
You're going to miss something.
Yeah. So you're going to miss something. You're going to miss some of his holier than holy filmmaking to get up to go take a piss. Or he could have just given you an intermission so you could properly go to the bathroom. There's a certain narcissism, I think, that comes with not including an intermission.
Yeah.
And the fact that theatrically and now this has no intermission is unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. Here's the thing, right? Bergman had these sprawling epics. You have Scenes from a Marriage and you have Fanny and Alexander. What he would do is he would cut it down theatrically, where it would be like 3 hours long or something. Palatable. 3 hours without intermission is palatable. Mm-hmm. Or he made these TV miniseries versions of the films that are in 4 or 5 parts or something like that.
So good.
Where they're palatable because they're episodes and it's an hour and a half at a time, which is a reasonable amount of time to ask a person to sit down and watch a movie.
Yeah.
Now, people who are listening right now may be like, Greg, what's wrong with you? You just watch this in several sittings. I watch movies the way that the director intends, and even though I did take a break in the middle of this, because it's impossible not to, the fact that you're supposed to take this all in one sitting is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. And I'm not behind that. And I think it's terribly pretentious, as great as a filmmaker as you are. And that's really the root of my problem with this movie, is it's just too much. If they shaved, if they shaved like 90 minutes off this movie, I think I would be totally beside myself with this movie. I'd be like, oh my God, like this is just incredible. But as it is, it's a 4-hour film. And I've seen, I'm patient. Literally, like, I am known by my friends and Molly for being the most patient viewer, and I will just sit there and patiently watch. I love long movies.
Yeah,
it's in my DNA.
Yeah,
but I cannot do this. I cannot do this, and this movie infuriates me. As great as it is too much. So before rambling too much on this, the way it's presented is atrocious. Atrocious. Anyway,
atrocious.
Jackie, let's get to you in your more positive stance on this.
Okay, well. Can I start with positive? If this is initial thoughts.
Yeah.
And I like to do this because this was my initial thought. Right off the bat, I was like, yes, beauty. Wonderful.
Same.
When they're driving their bikes on that green road, that's like one of my favorite moments.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
the opening
Incredible.
doorway shot, it's like, oh, we're learning what happened. He's failed his exam. I love all the stuff with his family. I think that the school gang stuff is just too much.
Yes.
And here's the problem. I think the problem is that like the family stuff is burning under the surface for too long before he like gives you something. But then of course when it does happen, it's so beautiful. That scene with the mom and dad.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it. Love
It's
it.
a great
it.
scene. Yeah.
I wanted more of that, and I wanted it sooner. Maybe I'm impatient, but also maybe it's because I didn't fully understand like the gang dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally just looked like a bunch of kids. Like honestly, it's a little confusing. And I know it's kind of intentionally supposed to be confusing, and I don't need to understand everything, but something about the gang dynamics like wasn't really clicking for me. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But again, like I wanted to love this so bad. I wanted to get lost in it because there are so many people who are obsessed with this movie and they can just bear it and they love it. I want to be that so bad. But something about it, I can't lose myself in it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just too long. Like
I literally have a note here. I have a note here saying this movie didn't let me inside.
Wow.
Unlike E, which does let you inside.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it's 3 hours. Mm-hmm. Like no problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really does. I do like, I think it's really good though. Like, and that's why I told you, because you were confused. You thought I didn't like it, but I do. It's hard to talk about.
It is.
I don't know. It really does de-romanticize youth and this tough guy mentality. And I love that about it. I love how it shows, like, it's one of the good examples of how insecure being a teenager is, and then add in all like the political stuff and the nationalistic stuff, and it's like extra. And it does that really, really well. And I get that the Sir that started the movie is not the Sir that is at the end, and of course, being 4 hours helps with that a lot. It feels like an eternity because it is.
Yeah, no kidding.
And like I said, when I went back and rewatched certain scenes, I was in awe. Yeah. I was in awe of the individual scenes. But I think that's my main problem with it. I think there's too much of the gang stuff that doesn't really make sense to me off the bat. Yeah.
There's more.
That's my initial thought.
Here's the thing, and I know this is all based on these real, like, teenage gangs and stuff that existed at the time. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But the problem is that, like you said, they're given so much screen time, and it is kind of unclear initially who's with who.
So much.
Where like
who's with who? Here's we'll talk about the gangs a little bit.
Yeah.
So again, it's all about how volatile and impressionistic he is, which is great. But then throughout the whole movie and everything you read online, it's like there are these two gangs, but he's not in either of them. So I think that's like problem number one. I think he should have been in it. If you're gonna be in it, you know? And
well, yeah. It's like Michael in The Godfather, though. He starts out as an outsider and works his way in.
That's fine, but he never even works his way in.
He doesn't.
He
but
really is just a bystander, which is like...
You know what's funny? I actually don't have a problem with that because this is his world, though. Like, he may not be in it, but his world is that, and his friends are in it and stuff. And so, therefore, he is involved.
Here's the problem, okay? We spend so much time just watching little boys try to be cool, okay? It doesn't feel dangerous.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, no, there are a couple moments when
here's the
Fly,
thing.
Is that the kid's name with the brick that takes the brick to the kid's face?
Yeah, but it didn't work for me. I don't know.
There were a few dangerous like moments.
But it also doesn't feel like, oh, they're just silly kids. It doesn't feel dangerous. That's the thing. It's like it doesn't feel dangerous. It also just it doesn't feel like they're just being stupid. And then that massacre that happens, that's not even them. Those are like random dudes that are Honey's friends that came in with samurai swords and started killing them. And Sir is there just watching with his flashlight. It's just... It's convoluted.
I really like the way that scene is shot, though.
I do too. But it's also confusing. And then they come and chase Sly out of there. And I'm like, I thought the concert was really underwhelming. The concert was...
Oh, well, I mean...
Like, why is he out there just, like, provoking them, but in a really bitchy way? Like, it's just, I don't know. Well, and I don't care about Honey. I don't know Honey. Like,
Honey is kind of cool. He's one of the few characters I'm like, oh, you're kind of interesting. You know what? Okay, I want to touch on something that you just said. One of the reasons I don't connect with this is because it is these little kids trying to play dress up, basically.
Yes.
It's these kids playing cowboys and Indians and stuff.
But I like that. I like that it has these undertones of like Western influence and movies, and they go to the movies, and he does that flippy thing with his hand trying to put his gun away, his imaginary gun. Love that stuff.
But the problem is they're given more screen time in this than all the mobster stuff in like Godfather 2, for example, which again is a 30 minutes shorter film. These kids and their exploits are treated almost more seriously than Coppola treats the mobsters in The Godfather. And
Yes.
and we get more involved in the workings of this kid gang than we do in The Godfather
Yes.
too. So it's like, let's take a step back here. Here's what I think all the gang stuff does, which is the focus of the movie. It is the world of the movie.
Yeah.
We get a lot of the same shit over and over and over. And it's a lot of confrontations. It's a lot of like trying to be hard and trying to be badass and like, but it's the same kinds of scenes over and over. And it just exhausts you. Like, we don't need another scene of like this happening or that happening.
Yeah.
Like, it's like he didn't know. He thought his whole movie was so precious that he was afraid to like cut anything out.
Yeah. And also, like, do the two gangs go to the same school? Why are they at school during the day if they all go to night school? When they attack Sly in the gym, I was very confused. I'm like, okay, who are these guys? These are the 217 boys. What are they doing at this school? Do they all go like, I don't know. It was just something that was really hard to connect to. And I think that there was a way to make the presence of these gangs useful to Sir's eventual downfall. Like, for example, I love the moment when he sees the drunk grocery guy.
Oh, yeah. That's a great moment.
And he picks up a rock and it seems like he's gonna like be violent, but then he's not. I love that. I want more moments of that not seeing the actual gang itself.
Yes.
Like,
Because
does that make sense?
It's little kids fighting.
Exactly. Also, I don't get the whole peace thing, concert thing. It just went over my head and it wasn't important, I feel like, for this character study. It wasn't important to have that many moments.
No, exactly. I see the anger coming out in you right now. I completely agree. It's just, it feels like it's beating it into submission. And you're like, yes, I understand. Like, let's get... Exactly, more character moments and not this bullshit kid gang stuff that just keeps fucking going.
Yeah. And then it's so... maybe it's the way that it was paced and the way that it was set up. Like, I thought it was really weird. So here's a sequence of events, okay? I know the massacre stuff is supposed to be mysterious and unclear, especially with all the lights going off. But
I love the power outages. I
do, and those were accurate to Taiwan during the time. So it goes from they're trying to get back at Tiger, who is one of the
I still can't tell you who
they
that
know,
is.
the one that plays basketball. Okay, then you have that scene where it's Kat, who's the singing one, and Sir, his best friend. They're in Kat's house and they're like, let's get back at Tiger. Like, I'm gonna take out this knife and I'm gonna stab this mannequin, which is hilarious. Okay, that's so funny. So you get from there to then going to that rich kid and saying, can we borrow your samurai sword? And then he goes out on a double date with that rich kid, even though, like, what? I don't know. And then the massacre happens. But that had nothing to do with getting the swords from that kid or that stabbing the mannequin. They were just trying to get back at their friend who was dissing them.
Yeah.
But it was weird. Like, it was confusing.
Yeah, needlessly confusing.
Maybe the setup of it, I don't know. But I love seeing him go on a double date. I love that kid being silly with his knife. But I don't like the fact that the massacre was, like, so close to that. And then, like, they didn't even get any revenge. So I'm like, I thought when the massacre was happening, I thought, like, Kat and him were one of the people killing people, and I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But they're not.
Yeah,
they're not. These are old. These are older kids from another city that are Honey's friends. I don't know.
I know. Believe me. I remember in the Breathless episode, we were before we started talking about Breathless. You were talking about Seven Samurai because you had just seen it, and you were like, I don't like long movies. So you were saying you had a whole thing about how you admire a movie more that's able to get it done in a shorter runtime. So I'm just bringing that back around here because...
But I'm not saying I love Seven Samurai.
No. I know. But you were just saying... No, I know you loved it, but you did say you were like...
I don't need an epic 3-hour, 4-hour long movie.
And here we go. Again, this movie's longer than Seven Samurai.
It is longer than Seven Samurai.
And
it's longer than Yi Yi. And I love both of those movies. It's longer than... I haven't seen Lawrence of Arabia, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Too long.
Wait, you're literally talking to two people who love and have seen Jean Dielman. You know,
yes, Jean Dielman. I was just going to bring up Jean Dielman.
And here's the thing: is Jean Dielman at its 3.5 hours? Is that bloated? No,
not at all.
It's all essential.
Yeah,
but it does kind of break you down, but in a different way, in a good way.
In a very good
breaks
way.
You down.
Yeah,
this film is just like torture. It's torture, as beautifully made as it is. It's torture.
But I love the themes, and I love this idea. I love the way that he integrated like what was going on politically and what he grew up in, and the way that it was like, it is this identity crisis. think it all works really well for the story.
It does. On
the
paper,
fact that,
it does. Yeah.
The fact that his parents are going through the same thing because they're transplants and they don't belong here and they're trying to find their place. And it's like, we don't have a home to go back to. They realize it kind of midway, like, you guys are, that when the dad says, you guys are all I have, because they don't have a home to go back to. And it's so sad. It's heartbreaking.
It is.
It's really, really great.
Well, you were talking about logistical stuff. There's a scene when they throw a basketball at that guy's face. Maybe that's Tiger.
That's Tiger.
Okay.
And then right after that, he beats them up, and then they say, we're going to get revenge.
Okay. So the scene where they get beat up, right?
Yeah.
Because this movie does go through the trouble of showing you every painstaking detail, right? So they're in the tunnel. A basketball comes at them from the darkness because it's nighttime. A basketball bounces in the frame, and you hear the guys in the darkness like, okay, we're going to kick your ass. And then it just cuts.
Yeah.
And I felt like I kind of wanted to see that, actually.
No, I kind of like that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like because it would make the point a little more, because it shows the fact that this violence is upsetting and terrible and stuff. And I feel like in some weird way, Edward Yang is kind of getting off on showing like some of the violence. Like the kids are like so cool. And again, I know they're like trying to be cool. And I'm not saying Edward Yang is Sam Peckinpah at all, but I'm just saying that, yeah, I don't know. Like, you can almost feel him getting off on like, oh, I'm making like a gangster movie here.
I
You know
don't
what
think
I mean?
so
You
at
don't think so?
all, no.
Because there's a lot of cool posturing and like, I don't know, and stuff
But
like that.
even the really violent scene is like mostly in the dark.
No, honestly, I think it's in the dark, and that works really well, like atmospherically. But I also think it was in the dark because it saves you all this like choreography.
Well, no, there's this
because it's this huge brawl with swords and stuff. And if you do it in the dark with a couple flashlights, then it's easy.
But there's this whole motif throughout the whole movie about like light and sight.
Sure.
Similar to Yi about seeing. So like he goes to night school and his mom is scared that that's making his vision go bad. And he even comes home like the first night and he's flicking the lights because he's like, oh, my vision is like, he says something anyway. He's having a problem seeing.
Right.
And there's that motif throughout and his flashlight. So I think that, I don't think it was because of choreography. I think it was to serve the theme and that motif.
Maybe it's a little bit of both.
I mean,
it's so much easier to shoot a scene with just a couple flashlights and the rest is in darkness than to like choreograph this thing like a well-lit scene with all these people with swords.
I suppose.
Again, I'm not trying to say he's trying to get off easy, because like he puts the work into this movie. Like you can see there's a lot of beautiful shots with like like where things are perfectly timed, where like a train passes, and I'm thinking of one shot in particular where I don't remember which characters are in it, but there's like a warehouse and a train passes in the background, and then someone's in the middle, and then there's someone in the foreground. Like it's just like beautifully composed. There's a lot of really beautifully composed. This whole movie looks amazing.
So, oh my god,
incredible.
Let's talk about the look and the cinematography. So I think that doorway shots are to this movie what window shots are to Yi.
Oh yes.
There's so many doorway shots, and they really are. They're kind of like disassociating. They make it really distant. They make it really objective, and I think they work really, really well. I mean, off the bat, the first one is the dad with the school principal, and it's great. And it just continues throughout, and they're great. I love the one where they're leaving the doctor's office and it's Ming and it's Sir, and they leave, and then it turns to the right and you're looking at a blank white wall, but you see the reflection of both of them.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you serious? What?
I'm going to mention that later.
Oh, shit. Even coming home that first night, it's such a great, I think the doorway works so well in that first time he comes home. It's so good for like tired mom, you know, she's just she's there. She's like, why are you home so late? Like, okay, eat. And she's setting his food and you're seeing it from the doorway, and it's just gorgeous.
Well, I think it works so well with like the symmetry of the architecture too. And
of course
they're living in Japanese homes, and there's a line about that in the movie.
Yes. So what happened basically, I don't know, like I looked up a little bit of the history, but basically in 1949, after the Chinese Civil War, the nationalist government moved to Taiwan, which was before World War II under Japanese rule. So that's why there's so much Japanese influence, and they live in Japanese houses. Yeah. But again,
just so symmetrical. And there's something about Japanese architecture that just like you have to frame people in doorways and stuff. You know,
I know.
It just
so
makes
Ozu.
it.
Yeah. Of course. What about the shot where he sleeps in a closet?
Yeah.
That's his bedroom. What about the shower? He opens the door and you're kind of seeing his point of view from the closet.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's so good.
The movie,
and the ending, of course, the last shot of mom in the doorway doing laundry.
I know. It's a very immersive film, which is why I'm so frustrated with it, because in some ways you're just like totally in this world and you can feel it, you can smell it, you can taste it, but then it just like the bloatedness just holds you out. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
At what point, because you did text me when this ended and you said, oof, brighter summer day. Let me ask you, at what point were you like, okay, this is like collapsing slightly under its own weight? Yeah.
Okay, so I tried to split it up between 2 hours and 2 hours, but you know me, it takes me like forever to watch a movie because I do rewind, I take notes. Watching a movie for this podcast,
right?
I rewind, I take notes, things like that. I had only gotten an hour and a half into it before I had to eat dinner. So then I came back to it with 2.5 hours left. I think it was the concert, which is also near the midpoint.
Okay.
It's the concert for me. I was like, this is doing nothing for Sir or like anyone I really care about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even cool. Like, they're not even, when he's outside fighting with those guys, the 217 guys, like, it's not even, he's not even being cool. He's just like pissing them off. I don't know.
I agree.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying he gets so wrapped up in this world that he's creating, which I think is normally a good thing to get carried away.
Mm-hmm.
But like he gets so carried away with it that he loses sight of like what the film is actually supposed to be about and who it's supposed to be about.
Exactly. Who? That's really important, I think.
Yeah.
But I do love his friend Kat who sings Elvis in like a falsetto.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And it's so cute too because he's like trying to be this badass, but also like he just loves to sing.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's sweet. But
I love, what's her name in the movie?
Ming?
Yeah, I love Ming.
Let's talk about Ming.
I love her whole like
I
her
love
movie,
Ming.
her screen test.
I
thing
love the screen test.
Yeah.
And what's so ironic, and I love this so much, it's like, okay, this whole movie is about, I mean, not about, but
we need more
obviously
Ming.
These kids are surrounded by a society that's constantly at war, constantly like domination. Basically, the nationalistic government in Taiwan, they're dictators too. And it was a dictatorship until the 80s when there was like reform. The secret police are scary, but they're not even like the commies, you know?
Yeah.
So they're surrounded by this like possession, domination, violence, war. And obviously she becomes kind of the catalyst for all of this. And it's so, and you said the screen test because I love that moment of the screen test. It's right after her mom is in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
It's the scene directly after, and she's crying.
It's one of the best moments of the movie.
And then in the end, it's so ironic because Sir goes back to the studio. He finds the director and he says, "You couldn't tell she was faking. Like, how can you make a movie when you can't even tell she's faking?" And it's like, no, idiot, she wasn't faking. You're the one that doesn't understand her.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's incredible.
I loved that. I love her screen test. You know, something funny, actually. The actress who plays her, I said her name earlier. What was it? Lisa Yang. She grew up in the U.S. So she was speaking Mandarin on set. She spoke Mandarin. But she was speaking with such a heavy accent that Edward Yang had to dub her with another actress.
Oh,
after.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because it's so fun when you're trying to compensate, like,
right.
She wasn't actually from Taiwan, so.
Right.
It's funny.
She has a great look. She's like kind of the symbol of the movie, I feel like.
She looks angelic throughout. Like,
Yeah.
she really does look like other earthly, really just.
How about that scene
beautiful.
where she fires the gun at
Oh
Sir?
my God.
That's so intense.
So
Also
intense.
foreshadowing,
I
yeah.
was so scared.
Yeah.
I really didn't know.
It's exactly like kids die that way all the time. Kids get into like
I
their
want-
parents' guns that are loaded and accidentally shoot each other.
I want more moments like that.
Yeah, I want more moments like that too. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. You're nice to me, so I'll be nice to you. That's what she tells him in the end. She
Yeah.
goes, "You're just like the rest of them." And that killed me.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah.
She says it throughout, though, like, I don't need help. I don't need someone to save me. She says it in that moment. He runs to her, which I love. I love that moment.
Yeah.
The marching band is playing and he's running. Beautiful. There's a lot of, like, kind of romantic stuff. But again,
Yes.
of course, like, he's really awful. But
Did you notice too there was no score?
yes. Yeah. Yeah. But I love when they're in the ice cream shop and they put on a record and this is before the rest of the gang come in. And she's put on a record and they're just sitting and looking at each other and he just starts like smiling and she starts smiling. It's so sweet.
Yeah, it needed more of that.
Yes. And I love when in the end, when he's with, I think her name is Jade, who is another girl in town. And they're together and he starts like saying things like, oh, I'll always be with you, whatever. And she goes like, I don't need your philosophy lecture right now. Him trying to be romantic is like a philosophy lecture. And I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, I love those scenes, those like prolonged scenes where like people are like kissing for the first time or something like in a field. Or like those scenes are so good and real and genuine and honest. But it's just few and far between.
Yeah, what about the scene where, so like Honey is dead at this point and they're becoming closer and closer and she says like, do you want to ditch class? And he goes, no, we have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
And
He took it from the James Bond movie.
Oh. And then he has the picture of the suicide girl. He is a romantic guy. We have all the time in the world. Greg just showed me his watch. In the back there's an inscription. We have all the time in the world. Aww.
It's from my favorite Bond movie, On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Did Molly get that for you?
She did.
Oh, that's
we've
really
adopted.
cute.
We've adopted it. Yeah.
That's really cute. I'm sure you loved that line then when he said that.
Yeah, but I was also like, I know where that line comes from.
Yeah.
Not that the Bond movie was the first to use it, but
my point is, he does seem like he's this romantic guy who is being torn by like violence and war, and I just needed more of that.
Yes.
I just needed more of that.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, realistically.
Yeah.
Okay, they give this movie to you. Let's say no one has seen this movie and it's not beloved. And they're like, Jackie, we just pulled this movie out from the archives. No one's seen it. Like, what? And you have final cut. Like, you're gonna cut it down.
Okay.
What's the length? Realistically, what are we looking at? How much are you gonna cut out
I
of
would
this
do
movie?
3.
3 hours total?
3 or 2.5.
So you cut out an hour to an hour and a half.
Yes.
Yeah, same.
3 or 2.5.
Yeah.
I think it can only help it.
Yeah.
But okay, now let's talk about the family, because I love the family and I love all the moments with the family. I think there's some real authentic,
that's some of the best moments.
Yeah, authentic like big sister moments. I love how the little girl like she says something and the big sister's like, it's for grown-ups, and she's like, you're so mean.
Yeah.
It's little things like that. And then the parents are fighting and the little girl again, she's like, I have to go to the bathroom, like in the middle, like because she doesn't want to be involved, like she just bounces, and it's so great. There's so many moments like that. I love how, oh my God, I love when the mom is talking about how she met the dad and she goes, he was a real peasant boy, but like we all loved him for that. Like it was like,
right.
And the daughter's just sitting and watching her. We get a shot of the daughter just like looking at her mom gush over her dad. And I'm like, yes,
well,
this.
That's the kind of stuff that Edward Yang is so good at. It's just those little unspoken moments. It's real honest moments. And he gets so wrapped up in the gang stuff that he murders his own movie.
I think so, because this is a beautiful family and I love watching this family and watching what they're going through. I would take that. I would even take it as like a, not just focused on Sir, but just like an ensemble about the family, kind of like how Yi was. I would take that.
Yeah.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
When the middle sister, when he gets home from, I think like the massacre, he gets home and the middle sister, who's like really religious, she looks at him and she goes, you seem to lack inner calm.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, shut up with your religion. It's great. I wanted more things like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When the mom sees the dad after dad has been released from the secret police and she just runs into him at the grocery store.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What a moment.
Yeah.
That is an Edward Yang moment.
Yeah. I loved getting wrapped up in all the family stuff and the stuff in the town, like with the grocer and their line of credit. And all that stuff.
So I thought at first that Sir was going to beat the grocer up because of that whole line of credit thing.
Right.
Then he doesn't see it. More of that. More of that.
More of that.
And of course, the breakdown, like mom's breakdown. And you see dad like walking behind her. She starts to walk when he comes out and you see him walking behind and she's walking slowly. Like that's a beautiful moment.
It really is.
If you're not afraid, then I won't be. I think that's what she says.
Yeah.
She says, if you're not afraid, then I won't be. And he says, you're all I have left. I absolutely love how Sir and the middle sister bond. I think that is one of the strongest moments of this movie is that moment when they're outside. She's standing outside because she doesn't want to be inside while the other brother is getting beaten up. Mm-hmm. And then he goes in his closet and she's telling him, she's trying to help him. She's saying, you should pray. And then, of course, when he kills Ming, she's the first person in the police station. She's like, you're wrong. It's not my brother. And I died.
Yeah.
And then she's singing in the choir and she's the only one not singing. Like, come on. God. I want that movie.
The problem is, like, a lot of those moments I was already tuning out.
It happens towards the end. A lot of those family stuff. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the family stuff was burning under the surface for too long. Yes. Like, it needed to come forward a little more forward.
Yes. Yes. We're both really frustrated with this.
I'm so frustrated because I love everything that I just said. And now I'm remembering all those moments and I'm remembering how lovely they are.
I know. So compare this to Yi.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Yi is a movie that I wouldn't touch a second of.
No.
I'm blown away, but that the same person could make both movies. And I know there's like almost a decade in between, but I mean, what a better filmmaker he became because he kept all that stuff. Because everything we're talking about that we love about A Brighter Summer Day is just what Yi is.
Exactly.
And there's those stupid gang stuff.
Yeah.
Again, you know what came into my head while I was watching this movie? And I was like, no, I'm not going to say that. I was like, this is basically like an elevated version of The Outsiders.
Yeah, it is.
Where it's just like, I don't care.
Outsiders, West Side Story.
But here's the thing. The Outsiders is like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can put up with it if it's 2 hours, but if it's 4 hours of kids trying to be tough and it's just like, okay, I've stopped caring. And all the stuff you're just talking about, all that great family stuff, I like it. But I was, because this is my second time seeing it, and I'm not proud of this, but I was tuning out. And I usually say, like, for a movie like this that is so highly revered, like, oh, I'll revisit it in a couple years.
Yeah.
I was telling you this earlier. I'm not going to watch this again until I'm at least 50.
Can I have your Criterion disc then?
Yeah, honestly. It's just, I can't. This movie really did, like,
what if
me.
you saw it here's a scenario. What
in
if,
a theater?
Yes.
With no intermission?
No, I'm saying what if you saw it in a theater with an intermission? What if in like 5 years they realize that it should have an intermission and they release it with an intermission?
They won't. I'm sure
they won't.
No.
Or you won't go.
I'm sure they wouldn't put an intermission in because Edward Yang didn't want one.
I'm saying fantasy. We're shooting the shit.
No,
Would
even
you?
then, there's just
Would
this,
you go?
Well, because I had an intermission when I watched it this week.
That doesn't count. An intermission at home is not the same thing as an intermission in the theater.
I don't think I would go. I need to wait like 20 years before I see this again.
I would go.
I'm fed up with this fucking movie. And this is my second time seeing it. Maybe that's the difference between us. Like, how you feel right now, give it a few years,
hopeful?
Watch it again. Yeah, you're like semi-hopeful. You're like, oh, maybe I just need to see it again. That's how I was coming into it the second time. And then the second time just broke me. So
I know, I was watching it on my laptop.
Yeah, that's rough.
Like, in a really uncomfortable, horrible for my posture position.
Oh, no.
The whole time. Yeah.
Well, we should probably start doing, you want to do
Sight and sound?
Yeah.
Listen, sight is really hard for this movie.
Well,
really hard.
Yeah.
Sound I had a few contenders for sound too.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
You go first.
Okay. So for sight, some honorable mentions, if I'm allowed.
This one time.
So the whole screen test.
Oh, yeah.
The moment where they're in a movie and there's this finger. I don't even know whose hand it is.
I don't know whose hand. See?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's his friend Ma, the rich
Jade?
guy. But there's like a hand with fingers walking on the seat.
Leg.
It's not up her leg, it's the seat.
Oh, I thought it was her leg.
Really?
Oh, it could be the seat.
No, it's her seat. It's the seat. Which is like, yeah, why is it moving? That was going to be my favorite sight. But then I thought about it a second. I'm like, actually, why?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Yeah.
But I do love it because it looks like I don't know, I get off on like really slow movements in movies and really like tension
Almost
building.
like someone rubbing their lips with their thumb.
Yes. Exactly. Like someone rubbing their lips with their thumb.
That wasn't your favorite sight from Breathless, though, was it?
No. What was?
Missed opportunity.
No.
It's almost like your favorite sight for Apocalypse Now, which was just water behind the boat.
Other honorable mention when he chases Ming and there's the band and you can see him. I love seeing someone from behind chasing someone when they're just walking. So my favorite sight, it's got to be mom and dad. It's when they're about to have their like really intimate moment and she's walking really slowly and he's walking slowly behind her.
They're in the yard or something.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I also really love middle sister not singing in the choir.
Oh,
and she's like crying too. Like it's...
Yeah, I was checked out at that point.
Whew.
My favorite sight, so I have two, because again, beautiful movie. One of them is that shot. It's so they're in the school, that's like the office, and the camera just turns towards the door.
Yeah.
And it's like a shiny, like gloss finish, white painted door, and you kind of see the reflection in the door, like not super
barely,
clear,
just
but
their light.
You see that figures are there.
Yes,
and I love that.
It's incredible.
And again, playing exactly what you said, like playing with what he does in Yi with reflections through windows and stuff. So I love that. And then my other favorite one is when the father is being interrogated. And they finally, like, he writes that whole thing, and it's like morning. He's like done it through the night, and they're like, "Okay, you can go. Like, just go." And he turns around. He's sitting in a chair in this big empty room, and he's been in this room for like a couple days, a day. I don't know exactly how long. He turns around in his chair, and it's a shot. It's a great doorway shot, and the door is like halfway open, and there's just some leaves falling outside.
Oh,
beautiful,
so beautiful.
Yeah.
My favorite sound is actually a line. Which is interesting because Yi was also, even though it's not in English.
Well, yeah.
I know, but like we've talked about this because it's like it's rough with movies and languages we don't speak because it's like
playing
inflections
the clips.
and exactly. Right. But again, the writing is just so great.
Right.
A person who will apologize for wrongs he didn't commit is capable of all sorts of terrible things.
Who says that?
Dad says it too, sir.
Oh, let's hear it.
如果一个人还为他没有犯过错误去道歉、去讨好的话，那这种人什么事情做不出来啊？
Yeah,
beautiful.
It's great.
It's so great.
Yeah.
I want more.
I want more too. Yeah, all the father-son scenes are really beautiful. But again, too little, too late.
Yeah. What's your favorite sound?
Yeah, my favorite sound is that little kid, Cat. It's him singing Angel Baby.
It's so good.
It's like seeing him up. Everyone's like twice as tall as him. And like he's up there on stage with the microphone.
A tie in one of them. During the concert, he's wearing a tie.
Let's take a listen.
Just like heaven, we're here with you. You're like an angel, too good to be true. But then at all, I love you, I do. Angel baby, my angel baby.
So good.
He's like my favorite character.
He's maybe mine too. And then he comes in the end. He says, "Oh, I got this ring."
Love that little moment at the end with him writing the
When
prison
will you
letter.
ever see it?
Yeah, that's really nice. His letter to Elvis. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Says, I was surprised he'd ever heard of. No, he was surprised. Elvis was surprised that this little unknown island like had his music.
Yeah, because it
It's
takes
like
place
Taiwan.
in 1960.
Yes. Right? Yeah. 1960, but it just goes to show how much like Western culture.
Oh, absolutely. It's all over the movie.
Became universal in that time, like teen culture, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say too, the ending of the film. I know the mom's like in the backyard, and then you just hear
the
names of all the kids that were accepted, and that's. Oh wait, that were accepted?
That were accepted or that have done exceptionally well, or something like that.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
again,
it is incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I even love the beginning. That's a mirror of like the scene in the beginning when he takes him for shaved ice. After just hearing that he has to transfer to night school, Sir and his dad go get shaved ice, and it's the same thing. It's the radio playing. I love that moment too. The dad's just smoking, and you can tell he's like upset.
Yeah.
And they're eating shaved ice. It reminded me of the McDonald's scene in Yi.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is no Pauline Kael.
There's no Pauline Kael, and I know we talked about earlier about doing Roger Ebert, but also he did not review the film because it didn't come out theatrically until 2011 in the U.S., and he was already kind of winding down at that point. I don't know that he was still reviewing because he was sick, but So we're skipping the Pauline Kael portion, but we're going directly into Letterboxd, which I know is what everyone wanted, so we're doing it.
And also, side note, we just want to say that, and this came up because I looked up the New York Times review of it, and basically at the end it was saying like, it's definitely worth the watch. And I just want to reiterate that I think so too, of course. I mean, I think this movie is... I told you yesterday when I texted you, I'm like, it's amazing, but it's...
It is and it isn't. There's amazing stuff in
So watch it. Like, definitely watch it.
Well, imagine someone makes Citizen Kane and then they pad it with like 3 hours of like footage at a truck stop. Like, just because Citizen Kane exists inside that, does it still make it a great film? I
but
don't know.
don't you think people should still watch it?
Yes. Well, I think if they're listening to this episode, they've probably already seen it.
Hopefully.
But I would say, yeah, anyone that came to me that's like, should I watch it Brighter Summer Day? I'd be like, yes, absolutely. Like, it's worth seeing once. And I think too, like, we're kind of the outliers in this situation, like going on Letterboxd and stuff. Like, most people love this movie.
Yeah.
So we're the outsiders. Literally.
Greg, I like
Pony
it
Boy.
way more than you do.
Yeah, you do.
You're Pony Boy. Okay, 1 star. Sorry, let me go back. Someone gave it 5 stars and said too short. They did that just to piss off Greg.
Yeah. 2.5 stars. Bruh, this is a film I've been meaning to watch for ages, and wow, was it underwhelming. Admirably ambitious, sure, but I still found it hugely uninteresting and dull. Aside from some powerful scenes and moments of beauty, this was nothing special at all. I honestly got nothing out of the experience. Doesn't exactly help that it's 4 hours long either.
1 star. I can't wait to become a dictator and start imposing limits on film lengths.
Oh, I saw that one. Someone gave it 4.5 and said 4 hours long and it doesn't waste a second. Psych.
Greg, maybe we should read your review. What's
No,
your
that's
review?
okay.
Read it. Let's read it.
No, that's
Let me.
fine.
Come on.
Okay. Which one? The first time
It's
I saw it or
good.
the second time?
No, this second time. It's short and sweet.
Okay, all I said was I never want to see this beautiful ass movie ever again.
That's how you feel, though. That's such a good expression of how you feel.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't understand this one. Tell me if you understand it. 4.5 stars. I think showing this movie to an employed person would count as a prank.
Yeah, because it's so long. Like that they wouldn't have time enough time in the day to watch this.
Oh, okay.
You got to set aside a good chunk of your day to watch
I
this.
say a day.
Yeah.
I watched total time. I think I started at 4 and I ended at like 10:30. But like I said, I stopped in the middle.
Right.
Why are you laughing?
No, I did the same thing. I think I started around 5 and I finished around midnight.
Yeah,
So,
you
yeah.
1 star. They said it gets good in the last hour. Well, they were wrong. I don't think that's true. I do actually think it gets better in the last hour because it is more about the family.
Sure it is, but by that time you're just so exhausted that it just doesn't have the same impact that it should.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a brighter summer's day.
Summer
Day?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad we checked this one off because this one was looming on the horizon and I was dreading it. And I'm just glad that we got it over with. Although we do have a 7-hour movie on the list.
Yeah, how are you going to do that one?
Well, that's different. That's more my speed.
Is that Showa?
No. Oh, yeah, Showa too. That's like
Showa's
10
9.
hours or something. Yeah.
But is
I
it
was thinking
Showa?
of Satan Tango.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm excited for that one.
I'm excited too.
Anyway, so yeah, that was Brighter Summer Day. Come back next week because we are doing... Shit, what is the film next week?
One of the...
Oh, it's Ozu.
Late, yeah, it's
Late Spring.
Late Spring.
Yeah.
Continuing the Noriko trilogy.
Yeah.
We did Tokyo Story.
We did.
We have Late Spring. The last one is Summer something. I don't know if it's on the list.
Well, I think Late Spring is the first in the trilogy.
But,
Because Tokyo Story came after Late Spring.
there's one more about summer. That is also about...
Early summer or something like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
I'm going to watch that. I'm going to try and watch that before I rewatch Late Spring. Because I've seen Late Spring once.
Yeah,
but I
me
want to
too.
watch everything in the trilogy. So
Yeah. Okay.
maybe I'll check that out.
Well, yeah. So come back next week. We're doing Ozu.
I can't wait. It's
Our
gonna be
second
so
Ozu.
nice.
We love Ozu.
It's going to be so nice.
Yeah. So until then, I hope everybody has a great week. I'm Greg,
I'm Jackie.
and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
This has been an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club. Seen and heard is Jacqueline Pistachian and Greg Kleinschmidt. Theme music by Andrew Cox. You can find us at seenandheardpod.com.